Hello, I wanted to speak a little bit more about programming your reality, but in a way that um, it feels, I wouldn't say it's landed, but it feels more in your control. And this is a really important piece about it's the quantum programming piece because you can't um, steer the outer world from the outer world. It's really an inside job, right? As they say. But what does that mean? And that's where a lot of people get kind of tripped up because a lot of times it just looks like an airy fairy great idea kind of thing. But the inside job is um, is figuring out your identity. And neuroscience has shown this, that your one of the biggest factors in your whole life is the story you tell yourself about yourself, right? So all those parts of you that you have agreed to be or play through your childhood, all the expectations of family members and teachers and friends and your parents generally, right? Grandparents, though. Everybody who's ever participated in your influence in this lifetime. But then we've got momentum from other lifetimes, and that's the piece that most people don't really realize, because they're living one dimensional in this 3D realm, right? It's obviously it's three dimensions, but they haven't expanded their consciousness into the multidimensional space yet. And this is a really big thing that influences you, and you again, you can't take the steering wheel if you have decided the steering wheel doesn't exist. So until people understand that there is a fourth dimension influencing them, there's a fifth dimension, sixth dimension, and it goes beyond. Your soul, though, may have come in with a certain lineage, we'll say, of dimensions. You might have come from a certain star system, and maybe it's, and again, the galactics, and anybody who's ever done any of this work with the cosmic consciousness will understand that certain systems, star systems, again, planetary systems, bodies of light have different dimensions associated to them. But it's not even as fixed as that, because the thing is, we have earth beings that are at different dimensions on earth, right? We have, we know that there's insects and animals and plants, and they say that there's the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot. They're beings from it's been said the fourth dimension, right? So that's why they wink in and out of our experience, and only certain people have seen them. um, and again, I'm not saying yes or no, because I haven't experienced them, so I can't validate it. But I understand, though, because I can tap into a multidimensional aspect of Deborah. um, I know I haven't written any of that off, because I can be in this, dear spirit, show me what it is I need to know, or assist me in learning the truth about myself, because that whole know thyself piece, again, you can't take the wheel if you haven't read the manual, right? And so it is not saying I'll believe it when I see it, which is literally capping you at the 3D, right? It's that lid on the glass, and training the fleet only jump that high, right? There is a way bigger world out there when you go, okay, there's more out there, universe, show me what it is I don't, I'd like to know. But it starts with understanding and unpacking, getting back to the neuroscience of that inner world, of where you've put your limitations, what have you allowed about yourself, right? And so if there's a piece of you that says, oh, I'm not the smart one or something, right? Let's say you've said that, you believe that from the time you were a child. You're going to believe that you don't have any right to be thinking quantum or multidimensional, right? Or any, who do I think I am speaking in this way, right? And there's going to be a siphoning of your energy going towards building this veil of a version of you that isn't quantum, because it doesn't feel smart enough to be there. And again, this is just an example, but it also could come from a place of insecurity of, um, you know, you weren't deserving of people's attention. So the energy of you being held in that undeserving, it's a shrunken kind of insecure state of consciousness, is going to keep you in a lower dimension of consciousness as well, because that deserving part of you needs to be in the expanded part of your consciousness. So that's another piece of the know thyself that might be keeping you stuck in a lower dimension. There might be an aspect of you that has taken on a whole bunch of stories of fear that it's not safe. Ooh, these other dimensions that I can't see. I don't know what's in there. Who knows what kind of, you know, a shadow, demonic, bad guys, or whatever the, you know, mm, like trapped souls. I don't, there's a lot of stories. I don't need to unpack this. I always give people just enough crumbs just to fill in the blanks yourself, right? But whatever you think might be out there that is in the subconscious playing in a way that might be limiting your growth, right? So we can go, okay, I want to expand in my light body and step into my fuller light, but you have to collapse those old programs, right? So those old programs of unworthiness, of not being good enough to go there, right? Not being smart enough, not being loving enough, right? Maybe you have some guilt or shame around judgments, or being angry at somebody, or carrying past failed relationships, or hate. Maybe you hated your parents or a sibling, and that hate is in your field and really dominant as it's winning over the love piece, right? Where you can't fully go into, I am a being of light and love, right? And know that and ripple that right to your core, so you emanate it so big where nothing can stop you from reaching that higher dimension of consciousness through that heart bandwidth, right? But as long as you're carrying these wounds of the older contracted states where hate was felt, right, and you haven't closed the loops of them yet, resolved them, healed them by bringing them back around full circle. If they're still active, again, those are another veil of limitation. It's another veil of why you can't expand into this greater state. And I'm doing this with myself. I'm catching myself in nuanced ways, which is really interesting. I'm expanding and expanding, and I feel my light body growing, and I'm doing some beautiful quantum work. But then all of a sudden, you get tripped up on something in your life, and you go, "Oh, I'm denying the light there. Oh, that's another area where I've still negotiated." Where Deborah, is I haven't given myself permission to be. Um, in that beautiful expanded state. And part of the thing for me was, and I think a lot of light workers, and I've talked about this before, where we've had abundance issues. I personally didn't, before I was a light worker, before I stepped into this energetic space, it wasn't, I wasn't, wealthy, but I was always taken care of. And as soon as I started doing some energy work and wondering how I was going to show up in a way that I might be supported doing it, oh boy, did the stories flood in of why I couldn't show up in the world. And the whole emperor's new clothes thing, well, they can't see it. How can I charge them for something they can't see? It's not measurable, right? I can't quantify it. How can I say anything with any degree of authority in their field? Because I understand that I'm not doing anything to anybody else. It's my permissions to be unlimited, to be quantum, to be self-healing, that I'm holding that space for others, and they can sit in front of me, but they can have their own experience within that field, right? I can't force it. It's the old lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. So it was that whole piece of me. How can I charge them for something they can't even validate, right? And how do I know what they put value on, right? Do they value the energetic, the non-unseen world? Or are they still stuck in the highest value goes to the seen world, to the evidence, to the to the world where PhDs and all those sort of the masculine, the mental quantified evidence. I'm going to say it's the where we give value to that outer world through competition, through are you the best at what you do, are you have you got a following, right? Have you got all these things that I couldn't quantify? I couldn't say I have a following. I couldn't say I have made tons of wealth. I haven't written books about this, and and I do understand. Okay, there's a book. There is books coming, but it's not there yet. So I don't deserve to be supported in this world. There was a whole bunch of things that I've had to go through and unpack, and I'm still working through that, because that bigger world of the evidence world, we came in to experience it, right? So we got really excited about what we created, and boy, did we have fun there. We created in that tangible world, but we went as far as we could go um, in, and we kept bringing ourselves into distortions where we were in lack, we were in disharmony, disease, incoherence. There's a lot of distortions and depression, and because people's nervous systems have been dysregulated, and a lot of static and interference patterns, and we've created a whole bunch of information overload. Um, competing, interfering bandwidths of frequencies. It's the frequency war, time that we're in. But we're also in the time of revelations where our truth is coming to light. We're seeing that. We're seeing our creations, and we are merging with that creator aspect of ourself, right? That, you can call it the I am, you can call it your Christ consciousness, you can call it your God presence, right? However your language. And again, you want to be less of a one branch on the tree with your language, and more of a all branches are the tree, right? And your tree of life, right? And recognize that everyone else has their own tree of life and their own branches, and they can play where they want, right? It's not on us to deny them light on their branch, right? Maybe because you want to play in the whole tree, that doesn't make you a better tree than anyone else, right? We have to hold that perspective, right? And again, but it's not even about what's going on in the outer branches. It's, what's the core, what's the trunk, what's my root system like, right? Am I healthy, right? Am I connected? Am I bringing in everything that I need, right? Am I being supported that way? And so that whole balancing, the deeper roots, so that you can go higher up, right? That has to come into play right now. That's a really big piece of our evolution and the new human. It's the as above, so below, as within, so without, but not just as concepts, as how do I do it? How do I do it? What does the inner infrastructure or framework look like? Because I know what the outer ones look like, right? And the inner one, it involves your practice of sitting with yourself and being radically honest with yourself, writing down that list of all those things you believed yourself to be, right? Where do you throw yourself under the bus? Where do you sell yourself short? Where do you make other people feel good, right, in their life? And, oh, you can do this and this and this. Because you've said, I'm the expert in this, I can't be the expert in all these things too. So therefore, I'm going to make other people feel really good about where they're the experts, right? And that's more obvious. But the other thing is where have I given the outer world permission to write my script, tell my story, to be the author, authority, right? Author of my energy, right? Where you read their, I'm going to say their, like all the news stories, for instance, that come out and that tell you shouldn't do this, right? Because, the economy is going to be really bad, or this is really bad for your body, or investments here are really bad, real estate's really bad over here. These are people, and where they're the talking heads of the snakes, of the energy of limitation, and they're just coming up to show you, especially if you're attracted to them, to show you the areas where you haven't closed that loop, where you are free to write your script now. They're still writing your script, right? If you're agreeing with their stories, right, and it's making you feel disempowered, right, and it's not freedom, if those scripts that they're showing you and you've bought in and you kind of going, oh, that really explains what's going on, right? Okay, well, then go back to what script are they playing? What is it showing me about me? What have I agreed to along the way? And that's that part of being radically honest about yourself and where have you've agreed to play small, right? And, because all those outer systems that are in trouble, we'll say, are where you're playing small still, right? And that includes the earth, the climate stuff, right? You know, you've got to reclaim your relationship to Gaia, to the elements, to the elemental kingdoms, right? To keep coming into balance within. And we've got this, right? And when I'm, let's say I'm drinking something or eating something that I'm maybe concerned about, I don't know, some, I'm going to say, pesticide or food preservative or something I can always say at that moment, if a fear comes in at that moment, just say, dear innate, please let no inappropriate chemistry affect my biology. And that's Lee Carroll channeled that with Cryon years ago, and that really landed, and I really resonated with that story. But that's an empowering story, and so when it landed, I realized, oh, I have that frequency within me that I can use that, right? So they're not, you don't just resonate with the disempowering stuff in the outer world. You can also resonate with the empowering stuff and go, yeah, okay, that's a good one. I'm going to keep that one. And you want to get to the point where you have more resonance with the empowerment, with the stories that are in that. That's the old gives you your wings, right? It's the old I'm free here, right? I can lift and express in that next octave because I've no longer got the baggage that keeps pulling me down, right? It's yeah. And there's a really great book, and I don't know if I've talked about this, but there's an author who's an astrologist, and he wrote a book called Destiny, and it's basically based on your not just your birth chart, but it's actually the map of your skies year to year to year to year. So rather than giving kind of a horoscope like overview to your destiny, he dials it in even more. And it's really interesting because it gives you the flavor of your soul. It's like reading the manual in this lifetime. Again, in that way, there's a whole different bunch of different ways to do it. You can do it with your, palmistry. You can do it iridology. You can do it through your what are the other ones? You can map your whole body, right? But there's a lot of different ways to discover the codes within you, right? Numerology is another one with all your names and your numbers and even your houses, your addresses, things like that. They're part of the mathematical equations all the time, right? But eventually, when you start being able to work with these systems and you harmonize them and you're in your inner world through your process, and I use it with meditation, but I don't want to limit anybody to saying it has to be meditation. So this is the old you do you have to buy in to what it is, your inner process, that how you work with those inner processes, but then you can start to harmonize them. Even if, let's say, your astrology, your chart has you having limited areas, right? They don't have to be limited once you know them. You can close the loop, right? And this is the thing, and this is another one that science has shown us. There's been studies around and I'm going to give you an example with waitresses, right? And this is where one of the studies where they studied waitresses that could remember really complex orders, um, you know, like whatever somebody has ordered, until they delivered the order, they put it on the table, they walk away, and you could ask them 5 minutes later what that a particular table ordered, and they will have forgotten, but they could tell you all the people, all the tables that they're still waiting on, because they're still active in their consciousness, right? So even the complex ones that were that you would think would be hard to remember, but until they actually got completed, right? And the same thing with conversations with people, with relationships, with things that, in your house that are incomplete. They're constantly kind of niggling in the back of your mind. They're talking to you energetically, because the energy never came full circle. It never completed itself, right? So it's basically, it's out there, active still, right? And so those people that you haven't found closure with, right, that still come into your mind, and you still have these, maybe shame or guilt or judgment around it, and it's still active. You have to find a way to have a conversation with that person. You sit them in front of you, say what needs to be said, right? Speak it out loud, write it down as a letter, but don't send it to them, just burn it, right? But let the energy of that complete itself, right? And you'll have closed the loop in it. They were there, every one of those stories, even though it created energies in you and emotions in you that needed to be felt at the time. You called them in. Your soul wanted to put mirrored reflections in place for your greatest growth. So every person that mirrored you in a way to show you where you weren't, where you were playing in a victim story, showed up in the exact way you needed to hear it at the time. You just didn't know it. So any remaining animosity or frustration or anger, right? It's misdirected, because, and again, this is, people are going to call it victim shaming, but it isn't. It's this radical, responsible part of you that goes, I am shaping my reality. If you don't own it, you can't take that wheel. If you're pretending that someone else took you to these destinations, and oh no, they took me there, I didn't have anything to do with going there, right? How can you take the steering wheel in your life, right? That's the thing. You really have to start reclaiming all these areas, right? So you can take the wheel. The wheel of empowerment is you owning those mirrored reflections and going, I chose them for that higher level, not my personality, right? My personality was, dropped in, this version of me, the avatar that comes in to play the game. But I didn't write this level of the game, but I can write the next level. That's where I can be the author of the energy, writing the script, because I've woken up to how it's done. I've woken up to what that looks like. I've woken up to where I want to give my power, how my values, right? What I give most of my current energy to, right? How my values are structured so that the energy can go in to those areas through, 30%, 20%, 15%, 10%, right? And this is that greater than, lesser than. You literally are giving your energetic currency to these things that you've structured that way. And if you go, okay, I have to be honest here, I'm still giving value to complaining about these people. I must, because I do it enough, right? Or whatever it is that you're doing enough, right? And I have to catch myself, right? We're all doing it, right? There's something, whether it's even complaining about your pet, scratching the furniture. Hello, I've got one of those cats that, I've had to, and now I've taken to throwing them outside. Every time that happens, I just go, okay, I see you, throw them outside. Can I close the loop on that somehow? Okay, I'm gonna have to find a way to close that loop, because I've noticed it and it annoys me. And, that's an example of one, right? But it's in his nature to do it. I don't want to declaw him just so my furniture looks good, So it's like there's things that we have to observe the loops. There's something about that. There's something about me calling him in to maybe get really comfortable with not putting my furniture too high, maybe on the value. My relationship with my cats maybe got to have a better value, right? And I've let go. I've got stools and cushions and my dining room chairs and things that he's totally destroyed, and I've had to just let it go and just go, okay, I can always get new chairs, right? But I can't get a new cat at this time. And this cat was given to me. Oh, something's coming into balance there. Oh, maybe I've just collapsed that frustration with my cat. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? So anyways, I wanted, this conversation, yeah, maybe you can feel that, the balancing there. This conversation was just about you closing loops, right? Write the new script, but write the old script. Close the loop of how you would have liked it to end, right? Have the conversation, the hard conversation. Say the things that you need to get off the chest. Name the emotion that you felt there. Name how it made you feel, right? Write down the areas where you threw yourself under the bus, where you believed yourself not to be a certain thing or to be a certain way or to be a certain way, right? Where you see your biggest flaws, right? Write those down. Be radical in your observations there, because only when you can get there, again, it's not just the reading of, oh, there's something really being activated here. Wow. It's not just the observing, right? At the open loops. It's closing them, literally closing them, sealing them up, and writing the new script, right? It's literally the redirection, steering the energy into the new you. And then what you have to do, and it's this, it's hard because we slip up once in a while, but you have to start every day with, what would this empowered version of me do? What would a version of me that wasn't insecure, that wasn't really bad at that thing that I was, throwing myself under the bus for, what would that version of me do today, right? Or what steps can I take to allow this new version to unfold more graceful in my field, right? Do I need to read something? Do I need to learn about something some more? Maybe sleep with a book under your bed with information that you wish you knew, right? And just ask your team when you sleep, if there's anything in this book that would give me value to or complete a loop in my world, or to, this is lots of collapsing and transmuting and closure. Lots of closure here. Whew, I hope you can feel that. Wow, my palms are just vibrating like crazy. All you energy sensitives, hopefully you can feel it. And if you can't feel it, find a way to cognize it anyways. Find a way in your consciousness to know that this is being done, that this has landed, that you participated. Because every person watching will be participating in the dissolving, in the activation, in this upgrade, in this, we're optimizing our fields. We are letting go of old structures old systems of disempowerment, and allow yourself to raise into this higher, more empowered state of being. Again, you're driving the car. You just need to own it. You need to find all those stories where you've made a case for yourself to be too small in the world to make a difference. Oh, I'm speaking for myself here. Too small in the world to heal others, to be seen as anyone with special abilities. Yeah, there's something for me. I used to celebrate my artists in my art gallery, put them on the pedestal for their special abilities. And I never owned my own. Yeah. Whew. There's a lot of things that are being active here. I hope, I hope everyone's enjoying this just as much as I am, because it feels freeing. Ooh, you can even say, I am free, I am free, I am free. I am creation, awakening. I am the authority in my reality. I am the light for my world, and I'm the love for my world. I am spirit driven, and I have beautiful teams that support me on this beautiful path of enlightenment, empowerment, and joy and fulfillment. This beautiful unfolding of my divine balance. Harmony, coherence. And a divine expression of my physical embodiment. I'd like to thank all the teams, all the sacred geometry and temples and the elements and all the inner earth kingdoms that were working with us in Gaia and the galactic realms and our family of light, our God consciousness and presences. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ooh, okay. Oh, so much love pouring through my heart here. Just feel this love. Whew. It's just coming from all over, 360 degrees, all around you, above and below. Just allow it in. Let it in. Let go of every veil, every story, resistance, every constriction, every area where you've denied the light within yourself. Just take a deep breath. When you let it out, just see the opening, see the sloughing off, see the dissolving of all the old layers. Whew. Yeah, it's expansive here. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh. Okay. And if you want to sit with this energy for a little longer, it seems like it just wants to be held here. Maybe some of you are getting a bit of an initiation here. If you are, allow these, just say, I receive, and I thank your team. It feels like there is something being activated here. I can't say who it's for or what it's for, but just allow. If you know there's been something in your field that's unfolding right now, sit with the energy as long as you need to. Okay, yeah, there's something. Oh, it's very soft. Wow. Usually the energy moves through me pretty active. This is like, it's very fine. Oh, lots of full circles. Wow. you might want to touch down on the ground and to Gaia to bring it all down into the earth. That's what I'm doing right now. It's being brought down and grounded. Just see your tree roots going right down. Okay. Your tree is longer and taller and wider. It's like it just got amplified. Wow. Thank you for our teams. Yeah, thank you. And that maybe needed to happen because I haven't been sharing for a while, so maybe there was all the new light codes this summer. We've been activating a lot of light codes that they sit in our fields and they wait until we are ready to be active. It's like they're popcorn, right? And then when we open up to receive, they get activated. So don't worry if you're not able to sit and, on a sacred day or, let's say the 7-7 alignment or the 8-8 portal. Just understand that those energies are waiting for you and you can tap into them outside in time and space when you're quantum like this, right? So that whole FOMO, fear of missing out, you don't need to have it. We can literally catch up in this now moment. Yeah. You're exactly where you need to be in this now moment as you are. It's all divine. It's all perfectly coded. Okay. There, that transmission just ended. So thank you. Sit with this longer if you're still feeling something come through. Everyone processes at a different rate. And thank you for joining me and sending you so much love and love. And you've got this. We've all got this. We are on our ascension timelines. And boy, isn't it beautiful? Okay, sending you love.